Louisiana All American Sports Show. 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 Louisiana. If the sports you wanna talk about, then listen to the hottest show that's coming out the south. It's Eric Hatfield and Coach Perry Daniels, man. They're gonna sit you down and tell you all about the game and make it plain. 96.9 FM, that's the station. To hear the best sports talk show in the nation. Without hesitation, you should get with this and get your popcorn ready for you better not miss. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show. Louisiana All American Sports Show.
Good morning, Baton Rouge, and welcome to yet another fantastic edition of the best sports talk show in the nation here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. This is the 30th edition in the year 2015 of the Louisiana All American Sports Show. Good morning. This is Eric Hatfield.
And I'm Coach Perry Daniels.
And let's strap up and ride and get ready for another 60 minutes of sports and commentary here. Thank you for joining us this morning on the Louisiana All-American Sports Show. Perry, of course, is joining us, as always, from the nation's capital. And what's new in your neck of the woods, sir?
Hey, man, I just want to give big props out to the National African American Museum of History and Culture. They have some very dynamic people doing some very interesting work on race relations in our country. The museum isn't scheduled to open until the fall of 2016. However, those people are hard at work now on planting seeds and programs that will go a long way towards eradicating the racial issue in this country. So big props to those folks.
I think it's fantastic, the work that they're doing. We've talked about this off there a little bit. I think it's great. I'll tell you one fascinating thing about our nation's capital. Not one fascinating thing, there are a lot of fascinating things, but if you've never been, you got to go, because there's so much. You can lose yourself in all the cultural opportunities. It's literally limitless, no matter what walk of life you come from, to explore and discover out there in D.C., as I'm sure you've kind of learned in the last year of living there. Uh-oh. Coach?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're fading. Yeah, it's fading in and out on me. I lost your last words there. I couldn't hear you. Oh,
all I was saying is that it's, if anyone hasn't been to Washington, D.C. before, they should go because of the limitless cultural opportunities that are out there.
Absolutely. I also want to mention Jane Boguette, who was one of the guest speakers that I had a chance to interact with. She wrote a book called Talking Race in the Classroom. So big props to Jane Boguette for taking on the racial head on. And it's just amazing, man, some of the dynamic people that recognize there's an issue and are willing to put their reputations, their lives on the line to address them.
You're correct. It's not always a comfortable thing to discuss, and I think, like you said, big props to people that have the chutzpah to talk about these important but yet not always comfortable issues. In the world of, back here in Louisiana, in the world of high school and high school sports, story broke a few days ago. A couple of weeks ago, we had head football coach then of the West St. John Rams, Robert Valdez, is our guest on the show. Talked a little football, talked a little preparation. Well, major coup. I don't know about a coup, but some shifts of power have taken place now in Class 5A, as Coach Valdez, who was really running a factory over there in Class 1A, West St. John, of course, went up to 2A for this coming year. He is now accepted the head football coach position at Scotlandville High School, replacing Eric Randall, who resigned last week to become the assistant principal at Baker High. Coach Valdez, has a 60-29 record at West St. John, is 64-35 overall as a head coach. We led the West St. John Rams to a Class A runner-up finish in 2011. They've won their district in Class 1A over and over and over again. Well, Scotlandville is finally on the upswing. They're coming off of one of their best seasons last year. The Hornets were 9-4 last fall and advanced to the Class 5A quarterfinals. It was the best season the school had since restarting its football program in the 2000s. And, of course, it's their best season on the books since 1969. And Robin Frambro of The Advocate, of course, broke some of those little statistical nuggets. But, look, that's a big shift in power. And now you have a school that kind of, I mean, let's face facts. When you think of Scotlandville, you think of basketball first. And now their football program's on the uptick. And now they've got a really good football mind in place there who, Perry, could take this program to another level in 5A.
Hey, man, it is scary what Coach Valdez could potentially do with those Scotlandville Hornets. The way he runs a program, the structure, and the caliber of athletes that area tends to get, it could be amazing, man, what he could do up there. And I know that Coach Valdez has college coaching aspirations, so this will be a great test for him. I just kind of worry about, being a victim of his own success there. Before Eric Randall took over the head coaching job, Ken Hilton coached the Scotlandville Hornets to their best season since that 1969 season. The year after that, he was let go by Scotlandville. Eric Randall comes in. He takes them to their best season since that season. Now back to the 1969 season. He's let go. I've got a feeling that if Coach Valdez goes to the Dome, they're going to get rid of it.
I sincerely hope not. That doesn't sound like a really good formula for continued success in high school sports. Of course, Eric Randall, quote, allegedly, quote, resigned to be a assistant principal. I mean, we know how that works in high school sports. But yeah, but I'll tell you what, we have seen in basketball, certainly at McKinley High School and other programs where success is desired overnight, and how even what on paper looks like progress is sometimes rewarded with a kick in the tail. And I could just really, really hope, Perry, that you look at Coach Valdez's record, and I'll put it to you like this. If that were to happen, I think, number one, would not be smart. Number two, I don't think his phone would stay silent for very long. So we are going to keep our eyes on the Scotlandville Hornets in Class 5A next year. They could be a story worth following, and that could be a very dominant, already a quality academic program over there with the magnet program, and they can now own the entire athletic calendar as well between football and basketball, Perry.
And Eric, it's just going to further fuel the already heated rivalry between North Baton Rouge and South Baton Rouge, between Scotlandville and McKinley, with Coach Valdez being a former McKinley High coach. The comparisons are going to come out quickly. Generally, these two teams play week 2 or week 3. Coach Valdez will be playing against Coach Signator, Scotlandville against McKinley, North Baton Rouge against South Baton Rouge. It's going to get real interesting very quickly. I
think it's going to be a lot of fun, and knock on wood, we should be able to deliver that to you on Louisiana All American Sports.com. Also, speaking of high school football broadcast, Louisiana All American Sports is looking for a volunteer interested in joining the team here. We are looking for somebody, much like what I'm doing here in the studio is kind of like air traffic control, controlling all the sounds that go back and forth. It's what makes you hearing my voice and Perry's voice and some of the music possible. Well, look, WHYR, Baton Rouge Community Radio, is going to get possibly more deeply involved in the community and wants to deliver high school football to the community, but we need an air traffic controller. We need somebody behind the wheel, because usually my mouth is going 90 miles an hour and I'm at the stadium, and same thing with Joker. We need somebody to make it happen, to get those two lit batons going and get our voices going over the airwaves. If you're interested in possibly joining the Louisiana All American Sports team, we would need you as a volunteer to operate in our studio Friday evenings between roughly the hours of 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. And, of course, being part of our team, you'd be part of our team. And we can discuss that later. But look, give us a phone call. You can reach me at area code 504-616-8167. That's, again, me, Eric Hatfield, 504-616-8167. Got a couple of calls yesterday. I'll be in touch with you all shortly, by the way. Also, you can tweet us at LAA Sports, Louisiana All American Sports. At LAA Sports, you can tweet us. Also, you can find us on Facebook if you search Louisiana All American Sports. There are tons of ways to get a hold of us. The phone number, my phone number, again, is 504-616-8167. We'd love to have you. And, hey, you can be the difference. You can get our voices over the air and deliver high school football to the community here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP Baton Rouge Community Radio.
Great point, Eric. Glad you brought that up. People have been asking us for years to do this over the radio. We have an opportunity here. We're missing this one link. So anyone out there that wants to be a part of the team, it has to be a good fit for us as well as you. We're welcoming all applicants in that regard. So there it is.
And we have a guest forthcoming in a few minutes, Perry. Is that correct?
That is correct. Last week we spoke about the black and white affair that was canceled by the mayor's office, a traditional annual event in the Baton Rouge community that people look forward to, and it was canceled. And we have a special guest who has agreed to be with us, owner, creator of Perfect 10 Productions, Mr. Terrell Jackson Jr. has agreed to join us to speak regarding that issue, so we are awaiting his arrival. Should be any moment now, Eric.
I'm looking forward to that, Perry. I'm looking forward to hearing about it. We don't just talk, of course, while we are a sports show, we do deliver news that is relevant to the community, as we are a community radio station, and this is certainly very relevant to the community. It's something that, as you said, a lot of Baton Rougians, hundreds if not thousands of Baton Rougians take part in every year, and I'm looking forward to hearing Mr. Jackson's side of the story also. While we're waiting for him, Perry, do you want to share a little musical selection with the audience, or do we want to wait till after Mr. Jackson is come and gone? Which way do we want to take this puppy?
Yeah, let's wait till after the interview, and I know that may be a little tough logistically there with a customer that did not be active. I think that would be better served after we go through the interview there. Anything else?
On the high school scene, we're just, kind of eagerly awaiting the start of the year. I'd like to remind everybody that you will be able to follow not just football, but the whole world of high school sports, football, basketball, baseball, and any big events that come up on the high school scene. Louisiana All American Sports will be there to deliver it to you via LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com. We will probably be uploading our schedule sometime in mid to late August, so keep checking LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com for that schedule. You can also see the archives of past events, some really exciting action that we captured in football and basketball in particular on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com last year. It is up there for you, and of course you can always search for past broadcasts on YouTube if you type in the name of the schools or type in Louisiana All American Sports in the search browser. So look, it's right now, it's the slow season, it's summertime, it's hot, but hey, it's only a few preseason football in the NFL is only a few weeks away. High school football is about a month away. So look, it's the calm before the storm as we're getting ready to deliver a lot of action. I'm personally looking forward to seeing what's going to happen with some of the changes with Scotlandville, of course, picking up Coach Valdez. Schools like Madison Prep going into Class 2A. That's going to be exciting both in football and in basketball. Of course, while Madison Prep is building a dynasty on the hardwood, this is the very same school that was in the Division IV semifinals last year in football. So there's a lot going on at that school, and we'll, of course, with their, a regular story here on Louisiana All American Sports. Naturally, we'll have lots of doses of the Big Blue of McKinley High School, which is just minutes away from our studio here at WHYR. They are probably not only a featured act, probably the featured act on LouisianaAllAmericanSports.com, and we will be giving you a very healthy dose of the McKinley Panthers. The Southern Lab Kittens, with their new coach in Coach Marcus Randall, former LSU quarterback. He will be, and I'm sure hopefully we'll be able to speak to him a little bit about some things going on over there. Southern Lab has been making little baby steps over and over and over again over the past few years, and they advanced to the Division IV state championship last year. They were in the semifinals the year before, crossing blades with Ouachita Christian in both years. In the postseason. Coach Nick Mitchell was the man that began building that program up, and he has moved to Port Allen High School. We had Coach Mitchell on the show a few weeks ago, and Port Allen is another very regular featured performer. I would say probably number 2 after McKinley. If I were just to, lick my finger and put it in the air and feel which way the wind's blowing, I'd say we probably bring you a very healthy dose of the Port Allen Pelicans, and that will probably increase next year with Coach Nick Mitchell, a regular friend of the show, over there at Port Allen High School, and we'll bring you a dose of those Pelicans. Also,
that's going to be that district is going to be as interesting as usual, with Nick Mitchell joining that district, as well as last week's guest, Coach Mark Brown. So the traditional powers in that district with UHI, Parkview Baptist. Now they have some public school challengers that district pretty interesting.
They are, and as we talked about when we had both coaches on, they're not unlike schools in the city of Baton Rouge or in East Baton Rouge Parish. They're not fighting, with a lot of other brokers of high school talent. They pretty much get to fish in their own pond and pick the kids that are in their own neighborhoods. They're not competing, unlike in Baton Rouge, where kids have a lot of different options of where to go to school, and therefore a lot of coaches who are going to tap them on the shoulders and get into their ears. They're not fighting a recruiting battle like schools are over here. So with having some control over the talent pool over there on that side of the river and bringing some excellent coaching resumes over there, 7-3A is probably one of the toughest athletic districts in the state, and it's gotten that much more competitive on the gridiron. As you pointed out, UHI and Parkview Baptist have been especially UHI the last few years, have been the cream of the crop, but now you're going to have Port Allen, which has always been competitive, but always a step down. They're going to get a big boost in terms of coaching. Bruley getting Coach Mark Brown and the success he has, I think that'll push Bruley's football team back into being viable in that district. And of course, there's Glen Oaks High School, which we would hope any day now that proud program would experience some type of resurrection. And I know I've left one program off out of that very competitive district.
West Feliciana.
Thank you. West Feliciana District 7-3A. It's going to be tough, and it's going to be fun to watch next year, Perry. I really am looking forward to that in all three sports. But let's face it, we're a football. We're a town with a football problem. With a football addiction, and there's going to be plenty of it to be offered next year from our young people on the high school scene. No doubt about that, Perry. I'm looking forward to that. I've run my trap for the last 4 minutes. What are you looking forward to next year, Perry?
Well, man, high school football in Louisiana is just interesting all the time. And when you add, the redistricting, classification realignment, it's just really interesting to see how this is going to shake out. Not only Valdez joining the 5A Baton Rouge district, but, what is McKinley going to do? How is it going to progress? Are we going to see it take strides forward with its football program? They've got a new basketball coach. What is that going to look like?
Oh, man,
right.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting.
Catholic High. Yeah, Catholic High is always interesting to see what type of product they're going to put on the field. Even the 4A district there is exciting, with Plaquemine being pulled out of that district. Not Plaquemine, still in the Baton Rouge 4A district, with your team Lutcher being pulled out of that district, and now they're going back to a New Orleans district.
Interesting.
So that should be really interesting on how that shakes out.
That'll tell you, on this side of the river, you're that District 5A. I remember a lot of times last year, because we talked about a lot of McKinley basketball, and of course, Coach Harold Boudreaux, who was the coach at Bruley for quite some time, is now the coach at McKinley High School. I think he's going to bring something. I think he's going to push that program up another level. And while Coach Marvin Dotson did a great job, I think Coach Boudreaux brings a different, unique kind of background, especially having played at LSU, having played, I believe, pro ball in Europe, and had a lot of success at the high school level. I'm looking forward to that. But I remember you guys, I'm the only non-McKinley graduate in the room. I call myself an adopted Panther, and Joker and T and Perry would make fun of how Catholic High was a whooping boy. One they circled on the schedule as an easy win, and that was not the case last year. Catholic was very competitive. They've gotten the better of McKinley the last couple of years. They won at McKinley last year. We brought that to you on Louisiana All American Sports.com. So it's going to be interesting to watch that rivalry. Catholic kind of come up on the hardwood, McKinley kind of reloading its guns. And then in football, as you pointed out, Catholic has probably had the advantage. That's just an extremely competitive district between Catholic, Santa Maria, McKinley, Dutchtown, and Woodlawn. And with
East Ascension.
forgot it. Oh Lord, I just left them off completely. Forgot about the Spartans, who are very, very good team. It's just a lot of big old arms race over there, right? And
right, they have a new coach as well, Eric. The East Ascension team is now being coached by the old A-Meat coach.
I can't remember the gentleman's name, but he's really good. He's really good.
Yeah.
And Amit has a factory over there in Tangipahoa Parish. His name's going to probably come to me after the show, but fine coach, been there forever. Couldn't happen to a better guy, and he's moving up to the big boy level of high school football. So you look at those 6 schools, and I mean, McKinley, I'm looking forward to seeing what happened. I mean, I know Coach Signator was asked to make some changes, probably on his offensive end. I mean, look, we've seen McKinley, and we've talked about them a lot during football season. This is, when I think of McKinley, I think of defense and running. And when they're offense, I think of them running the ball, and then when they get into a third and long situation, they'll run the ball again. I sometimes think Coach Signator might have taken the passing plays out and kind of lit them ablaze. This is just not a team that throws the football. The problem is, in this day and age, with some of these athletes, you got to put the ball in the air at some point. You just can't attempt to overwhelm and overpower your opponent, no matter how much depth you have. And the Panthers have got a lot of depth. And let's face facts: the complete void of a passing game has probably probably took a couple of wins off the board for McKinley, probably kept them out of postseason, and that's a change that has got to be, that need cannot be lost on the students and the fans and the community. And I'm sure Coach Signator, who has probably forgotten more football strategy than I'll ever know, I'm curious to see what kind of adjustments they're going to make next year in that area, Perry.
Yeah, man. Being a former offensive coordinator, I understand the need to run the ball, control the game. When you can run the football, it covers up a lot of holes in your defense, as well as, you play ball possession.
You keep them off the field.
Right, absolutely. And I think that's the strategy that Signator has been taking the last couple of years, which is unusual for a team of his, under his tutelage, because he's a defensive coach. Mm-hmm. He came up on the defensive side of the ball. So usually that's a very strategy for his teams to have their defense on the field. So I don't know what has transpired down there in his philosophy regarding throwing the football. Sometimes just based on personnel, you can't execute that style of offense. So wise man, wise coach, been around the game a long time. I have confidence that Coach Signator is doing what is best for the McKinley program and for his coaching career. So if they're not throwing the ball, there's a reason for that.
Sure. Go ahead, Coach.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, we've witnessed a little bit of them. They had a quarterback, Travion Alexander, who decent arm, good downfield vision, and the little bit of success that we've seen McKinley throwing the football in 2013 and 2014, we saw. But that young man had probably, I'm guessing, suffered some injuries as his appearances were limited. Didn't see him at all last year. There might have been some other issues going on there, but they did not have a capable. They did not have a guy who could throw the football, and when you don't have someone who can pass the ball, it's hard to have a passing game under any circumstances. So I'm sure of the swath of young men that they have attending McKinley High School, I'm sure they will have a very keen eye for somebody who can throw a tight spiral and walk and chew gum at the same time, so to speak, look down the field and handle those basics, because that really was crippling. What was a very physical, McKinley team, they ran the ball very well. It's not like they ran the ball backwards when they ran the ball. Sometimes they converted those 3rd and 18s, running the jet sweeps, and sometimes running it right up the gut, and they had physical defenses, and you had kids like Daniel James, who's going to be probably playing defense at Yale next year, and congratulations to him on that. A lot of leaders on defense. They had those bedrock fundamentals that you have to have in a football program: defense and running the ball, which is magnified more at the high school level than at college or the pros. Or the pros, it's an all-passing league practically. They got that, but you've got to have some in order to go from 5-5 or 6-4 to being 7-3, 8-2, and getting into the postseason and having a real pulse and giving those folks something to really get excited about besides something to do on Friday evening. You got to have some dynamic approaches and put the ball in the air and go a little east and west and not north and south. So I'm looking forward to that. And then on the hardwood, my goodness, McKinley, they made it to the playoffs last year, had an early exit as a 17th seed, which I didn't expect. But we saw that McKinley, the basketball philosophy is a lot like the football philosophy over there, and that it's defense, control the ball, low scoring. Well, last year we watched them evolve into a team that was starting to put the ball in the hole and move fast, and then having a chance to look at their 9th grade team and their junior varsity team. The 9th grade team went undefeated. The junior varsity team, I believe, only lost 1 game. So not only has the varsity kind of stepped it up to another level, and then both offensively and getting a really nice coaching pedigree from Coach Harold Boudreaux, but now their pipeline looks really, really strong. And basketball, we talked about Scotlandville earlier, how it's known as a basketball-first school. Their football is kind of invisible. McKinley is definitely a basketball-first school. Traditionally in the 20th century, hanging a lot of state banners. In 2012, they reached the state finals, losing to their crosstown rivals in Scotlandville. And Coach Boudreaux he's got a real opportunity to bring this program back to its past glory, and I think it's almost I think the expectation is top 28 this year, or one heck of a push into the playoffs. Wouldn't you agree?
Well, Eric, the expectation of the McKinley High basketball program is always the state championship. Regardless, that is just what the McKinley alumni expect. That is what they expect of the McKinley head coach. That is just what they expect, a state championship appearance. So whether, we expect you to win it, but if not, we'll settle for the runner-up. But we expect McKinley High to win the state championship, and that's year in, year out, regardless of personnel. That's just where the expectations are. Hey, Eric, let's do this, man. I received a text from Gerald Jackson. He's caught up in a meeting. He's going to step out and join us later. We'll go ahead and go to our musical break, and out of that, we'll see where we go.
Well, we have a legendary musician for our musical selection. I don't think you're going to have to guess. I'll put it to you like this. If you're not into the genre very much and maybe you're a casual listener, your first guess is probably the correct one. And if you do like this artist, you're in for a treat. Here we go. What we need is love, love, love. What a brilliant man, and what a fantastic message too from Bob Marley. That he actually has a video on his Vivo page, and it's not the most high-tech video, but it still illustrates, I think, what Mr. Marley was trying to say. Perry, as always, another great selection with a great message behind it.
Hey, man, let's think about those first few words. Until the philosophy that holds one race superior and another inferior is finally, permanently, and totally discredited, there will always be war.
That's right. And the images, I don't know if you've seen his Vivo page video, but there's some images he has right behind that are right in line with those very powerful words of the brilliant Mr. Bob Marley. Speaking of equality and leveling playing fields, Coach Greg Popovich, arguably the best coach in the NBA, a surefire Hall of Famer, winner of 5 NBA championships. He hired former WNBA star Becky Hammon as an assistant for the San Antonio Spurs. One of her assignments was, in fact, to coach the San Antonio Spurs Las Vegas Summer League team. And for the first time ever, the San Antonio Spurs won the Summer League title. And while that's, while there's not going to be a ticker tape parade in San Antonio for it, it is very significant and brings back the story again of Miss Hammon's hiring, which, of course, generated some buzz because she was the first female assistant coach hired in the NBA. Greg Popovich spoke about this last week. He said, look, this is not a gimmick. He said, and I quote, it became huge when we hired her. Now it's even bigger because of the Summer League situation that's winning the championship. But we don't even think about that stuff. And I believe that in Popovich. He said, quote, I hired her because she was in my coaches' meetings for an entire year because she was injured. She's got opinions and solid notions about basketball. Obviously, she was a great point guard, which she was, and she's a leader. She's fiery. She's got intelligence, and our guys just respected the heck out of her. So she's coaching with us. She's running drills. That's why we made her a full-time coach and gave her an opportunity to coach at Summer League. I think Becky Hammon, look, I don't think there'll ever be a female player in the NBA because the game is just played above the rim, and because men, when we start talking about that top 0.1% of athletes, men are just bigger, stronger, and faster. And in a game that's vertical, it's might even be impossible for a woman to compete on the floor. But coaching is about teaching. It's about imparting knowledge. It's about communicating. And Ms. Hammon is doing a very good job. And I think it is only a matter of time, Perry, before there is be it Ms. Hammon or somebody else, there's a woman head coach in the NBA. And no matter who it is, one of the ESPN guys pointed this out, it's going to all point back to Ms. Hammon being the person to get the ball rolling.
Well, I think it should probably point back to Coach Popovich.
Sure.
And him being willing to take this on, and he's just a class act, man. Everything we see, we read, we hear about him, organization, the way that they just conduct business, they're just good guys.
They're a model. Perry, they are the model, and people try to mimic it, and it's not, with Coach Popovich, it's not a gimmick. There's no magic potion. He's first of all, he's a brilliant basketball mind. That goes without saying. He focuses heavily on getting the right people around him. We've seen that ever since he's been in San Antonio, going back to last century, literally, and. Pop is just he's a standard by which one want to model oneself. I mean, that he's got the Midas touch between I think between the way he runs things and kind of, I want to say, Phil Jackson's innovation maybe a little earlier. I think the game might be passing Phil by a little bit, but between those kinds of models, these are the guys who other coaches aspire to be like, and he's got the blueprint. And I'll tell you, when you are under Coach Pop's tutelage, you have an opportunity to be very successful and take your game to the next level, be it coaching or on the floor. I had so wished Gerard Martin had fallen one more spot to the San Antonio Spurs, who were eyeballing him, because I would have loved to have seen that young man be under the tutelage of Coach Popovich. Not that he's in a bad situation in Memphis right now, but you're right. He has got the Midas touch.
The situation in Memphis isn't nowhere near the San Antonio situation.
Oh no, sir! No! I wasn't even trying. Don't stop! I'm not even trying to make that comparison. Good physical defensive team in Memphis. They're going to be, their division rivals. But Pop is the man. And they're a division rival of the Pelicans. But I got to give it's not even a matter of give credit where it's due. It's so obvious that you can see it, and they have the gold standard, and they are, with some of their offseason moves, they are right now. It's too bad we don't have the fixer on, because I'm sure their odds in Vegas, it might be 1 to 3 odds. You might actually have to bet $100 to win $30 on San Antonio making it to the NBA Finals next year. They're positioned so well. Greg Popovich is a man in Texas who has helped elevate women, elevate a woman, move us along as far as how we view gender, or don't view, or maybe not view gender any differently. But unfortunately, not all people with authority in Texas treat women as well as Coach Popovich has. A lot of you have heard about, I'm sure in the last week and a half, about the July 13th death of 28-year-old Sandra Bland in a Texas jail cell. Miss Bland on July 10th was arrested following a traffic stop. She was arrested on charges of assaulting a peace officer. That was following a traffic stop for a failure to signal after she was being tailed by a Texas state trooper. A video of the arrest yielded several, if not over a dozen, questionable, if not outright, the tactics that were not in accordance with the law by the arresting officer, who has since been placed on desk duty and pending an investigation. The FBI and the authorities in Texas are treating Ms. Bland's death as a murder investigation, although as evidence is coming to the scene. Her death was originally listed as a suicide. Some of the evidence that's coming out is suggesting that there's a possibility, but certainly there have been no final conclusions reached. But regardless, the situation that, we talked about this on Thursday, I have a lot of concerns about the fact that Miss Bland was even pulled over in the first place. It seemed like, well, that's a petty tactic that cops everywhere employ, and they'll tell you that without even blinking an eye. But then the way she was treated during the stop, the arrest, everything about that just seemed to go horribly wrong. And even in the most favorable light for the authorities in that county in which Miss Bland was held, even if she did in fact commit suicide, the circumstances that led there, the chain of events that led there, I think were unacceptable. I have to wonder if she was suffering from depression, why she wasn't looked on more closely. And frankly, for a misdemeanor, and this hasn't even come into the news, Perry, but I've been thinking this the whole time, for a misdemeanor assault charge, not a battery, an assault, that's the putting somebody in reasonable apprehension of receiving a battery, not actually battering that person, while she was in jail for 3 days. I mean, why couldn't she just go to night court and get bonded out over the weekend? I know she was out of state, but that just seems, you should be able to release somebody on their own recognizance for such a petty charge. Everything about this situation stinks, and the way that they treated her, the officer on down, it's not like she was a person. It's like she was like a thing, like garbage or a piece of crap, and it really, everything about that situation that's come out so far has my blood pressure rising and my plate a little hot. It's unacceptable, and yet it's continuing, and we're seeing case after case after case in the news, Perry.
You're absolutely right, Eric. And I guess the tremendously sad part is there was nothing unusual about the way that she was treated. So people of color that encounter the criminal justice system, that is par for the course for them. That is how they are treated. There's no way that someone should be in jail for 3 days over a misdemeanor charge. You're absolutely right. But because of the way that we're set up, and we tend to over-police poor communities, so we make it difficult for the poor to be able to receive justice through our system, and that is where we were. Our peace and blessings go to the Bland family. Whether or not she committed suicide in that jail cell is a totally another. We want to deal with the the initial stop, the way that she was treated in the jail, the way that she was charged. You know, those are the systemic issues that America has to come to terms with when dealing with its people of color. And, you know, I've been a victim of that Texas while black law, unspoken law, to see whether to justify pulling you over and then justify placing charges once they pull you over and investigate. It is the original stop and frisk program that we're seeing so prevalent around the country now. Well, you know, here's a lady who just received a job from her alma mater, was returning back to do positive things. You know, it's difficult to comprehend that someone would be in a suicidal state despite all of that. However, you know, encounters with the police are extremely traumatic for people of color. So we don't really know what her state of mind was after a couple of days in there. It is highly possible that she did take her own life. That is possible. But what led to that?
Yeah.
That is where we need to,
And she should have been on watch, Perry.
Need to address. Well, you know, it's difficult for the police to be able to determine, Eric, whether or not this person is possesses suicidal tendencies. So I give them that.
Well, so actually, I can't even give them that, Perry, because some of the forms she filled out on intake, they asked had she suffered from depression and had she ever attempted suicide, and she checked yes to both. And one of the women who was, I think, in the adjacent cell or something like that, said, you know, she was kind of she was crying for quite a bit of time, and she was trying to comfort her and kind of tell her, you know, it'll be all right, that kind of stuff. So I mean, I think there were warning signs there, Perry, and you know, it is totally jacked up. You know, Joker, I think, talked about this a little bit, and we still haven't gotten his monologue yet. Do we want to get Joker P's 2 cents in on this, Coach? Okay, I think Coach. Oh, okay. Well, Coach is fading in and out of us, but yeah, Joker had to get his job on today, but he still had his 2 cents, and while Perry hopefully we'll get the signal back with Perry. Let's hear from Joker P.
This is Joker P, a.k.a. Gerard Piper, and I want to say peace and what's up to the listening audience out there listening to the Louisiana All American Sports Show. Also want to say what's up to my co-host, Eric Hatfield, and my boy, Coach Perry Daniels. And, of course, to my brother from another mother, Professor T. Johnson, my sometimes rival. But let's get right to this. Hey, if you hear the music in the background, then you know, I'm playing it because there's been a lot of another senseless death that we've seen on the news, but I'll get more into that later. Let's get to this other news. Man, what have the Saints done? Breaking news. The Saints have let go Junior Gillette. And what can I say about that, man? I don't know. You know, I think Junior Gillette was a real good player. You know, he was the captain of the defense, had 22 sacks within the last 2 years, you know, since they got him. And he just signed a 4-year, $41 million contract. So the Saints are really going to take a hit on this one. You know, they've been trying to shore up the defense a little bit, take the pressure a little bit off of Drew Brees. You know, he's been kind of getting up there in them interceptions. Now he's 36 years old. I think they want to try to make him more like a Peyton Manning, where they, you know, have a more of a run game, don't let him pass as much, you know. He's still got a little bit left in the tank, so, you know, but losing Graham and, you know, his other weapons, we're going to see how this thing going to turn out. But I do like the acquisition of Browner in the defense. Then they brought another defensive assistant, like defensive coordinator, to help out Ryan and everything. So we're going to see how this is going to turn out. But this is a big hit for the Saints because they're actually going to still owe Gillette some money But they did have some guaranteed money in the contract, and from what I'm seeing, they still owe him $18.7 million, and they have to pay him that. So they're going to eat actually $5 million this year, and then next year they're going to take a $12 million salary hit. So hey, they felt like they had to do this. So we'll see how that's going to turn out. As for Becky Hammon, the women coach of the Spurs, she was actually the first female coach to coach a summer league in the NBA, and they actually won the summer league title. Whatever that is, I don't know what that is or what it really means. But at the end of the day, now people are debating whether it'll ever be a female head coach in the NBA, and I don't know. That's a good question. I think the answer probably will be yes, that it will be a female coach. I think a woman has the ability to draw up plays and to do all the things that a man does when it comes to that aspect of it. The only thing that I probably would question would be the motivating factor. Will these guys kind of, jocks, basically, and jocks are kind of have egos a little bit, these athletes. Would they listen to a woman, or would they have the belief in a woman? So, when it come down to crunch time, will they believe in their coach like a Bill Belichick? She's going to pull us through this one, and she does it every time. So, but at the end of the day, I think it's going to happen. We'll see. We still haven't heard any word from Tom Brady. I haven't heard anything yet, but they keep trying to compare the Tom Brady to Greg Hardy, and I don't think like it's really a comparison at the end of the day, because Greg Hardy already set out last season. He set out a lot of games, and he had to sit out a lot of this season and got reduced down to 4. So they're trying to make it the comparison. It really is no comparison. But I know it's unfortunate, but we're gonna see how that's gonna play out. But let's get back to the issue that's really kind of been bothering me for the last couple of days, and that's of course this Sandra Bland incident that happened in Texas. The 28-year-old African American woman that was found hung in her cell. And what a lot of people don't know is we actually have the same thing that happened here. We had a kid here, his name was Lamar Johnson, and I want to give a shout out to him because and try to get the word out to find out what happened to him. It was almost an identical situation. He was pulled over in Baker for some type of traffic violation, minor infraction violation. He ended up going to the parish prison here in East Baton Rouge and had some type of incident, and he wanted to go in his own cell in lockdown. They put him in there, and 3 days later they found him hanging from his bed sheet, and his mother wants to find out what's going on. So, we're going to do everything that we can. I know that I will to make his name be known, and that's why I wanted to get his name out there and give a shout out to him. And just my heart goes out to your families, to both of you all's family. And I don't know, it's just like the only thing we've been seeing now is everything about race or either domestic violence. Domestic violence in the situation with Gillette. That's why the Saints let him go. So it seems like either it's going to be some type of race thing or mass shootings, or and it seemed to be like it could be someone 12 years old like Tamir Rice. It could be 15 years old like Trayvon Martin. It could be college educated like Sandra Bland. 28 years old. It could be Mike Brown. It could be him, someone that's 18 years old. It could be, just a slew of a plethora of different people. And so it's just, it's depressing, really. And I just kind of wanted to speak on that. But I'm going to sign out. I want to say peace out. I'll see you guys next time. Joker P. Yeah.
Oh, I love how Joker goes around the world in 6 minutes, man. He got it nice and concise and hit the bullseyes there, man.
He did.
Wow. Yep, Joker touched on some things. Then speaking of more senseless violence, I mean, it's just, it's been like a plague the last couple of months. We had just on Thursday evening in Lafayette, not even less than an hour up the road, 2 people were killed. 3 including the gunman, and I believe it was a total of 9 wounded. It was either 7 wounded or 9 wounded. I forget the amount. It was a mass shooting, though, in Lafayette at a movie theater. For the life of me, why people are packing iron in the movies and deciding to do this there, it's just as senseless as the school shootings to me. But regardless, it was during the showing of Amy Schumer's Trainwreck movie, and 2 people were killed, I believe, shot at point-blank range from some of the accounts I heard, and then as people were scrambling, the gunman methodically started shooting at people. The Lafayette Police Department and Sheriff's Department responded within less than about a minute, was the account that I've heard, because the shooter allegedly went outside, saw the police coming, and tried to go back in. He didn't get an opportunity to reload his clip, so fortunately the rapid response and the heroism of the teachers that alerted the authorities so quickly possibly stopped the multiple deaths from being an even more severe bloodbath. But our thoughts and prayers out to the victims of that shooting in Lafayette and that community, which has got to be just kind of reeling right now after that. It's just a lot of senseless violence, and just, I think... I'm so tired. I'm tired of seeing this, and I'm tired of almost becoming numb to it. And to quote a regular, we call him a guest, but he's not really a guest of the show, but a regular soundbite that we play on the show. This it's sick, and it just, when is this nonsense going to stop? At what point do we make some kind of changes? Because right now we're doing absolutely nothing.
Right, Eric. Coming up in 6 minutes, Eric, what do we have?
We have Noel Jackson with Music Satisfaction here on 96.9 FM WHYR-LP, Baton Rouge Community Radio. So, we have some. Go ahead, Coach.
Eric, there's a lot of people in society that are really in pain, really suffering. And what took place in Lafayette, we have to find a way to reach those people as a society. We have to find a way to reach those people before they get to the point where they walk into a movie theater and unload clips on people. And that is a challenge for all of us. And I understand that he was cloaked in the demographic that is least vulnerable, or so we think as a society. Mm-hmm. However, when we come to these type of events, they seem to be highly likely to fall to those type of circumstances. So, as a society, we have to be able to identify people that are in that state, mm-hmm. and then develop a plan of action to where we can talk them off of the edge, so to speak, and bring them back into the folds of society. And that's going to take, Eric, a whole paradigm shift, not only with the way we've talked plenty about the way that we treat people of color, and we need a paradigm shift in that aspect. But we also need a paradigm shift in the way we handle people that are on that edge, period, regardless of...
Yeah, mental illness is just, it's an understated problem. But as these tragedies continue to unfold, your Sandy Hooks and issues like what happened on Thursday, the common thread is that these people all have some pretty serious mental issues, and it's.
And I'll say this: those are some sick people.
Sick people, and we've got to get them help, and this stuff has got to stop.
Well, here's what I'm challenged with there, though, Eric. So, anytime it is someone of the dominant culture and a male of the dominant culture.
Perry means white guy.
Goes in and does those type of events, we automatically label it as mentally ill, so that it positions it as this isn't the norm for these people. However, when things occur in the African American community then we're very challenged with pressing it as mental illness because we want to paint the narrative that this is just the way they live and this is who they are. So I'm challenged with labeling him mentally ill, although I get where you're headed. I get it.
Yeah, no, I think here's the thing. I think we have to identify mental illness regardless of color. I mean, when we see these murders in the Africa, I mean, you have obviously street crimes and drug wars, and those are pretty easy to identify. But you do have some of these killings. You know, they had a killing a few years ago where African American man went into a church and shot a lot of elderly people and stuff like that. And it's not that this guy that's just how they are. This guy was sick. He was mentally sick, and notice how I didn't mention the Charleston situation because I think that was just pure evil and hatred. But we have to identify. And as you said a moment ago, develop a plan for identifying and treating these people and bringing them off the edge, those that are mentally ill. And then when you have, what I think is a whole different story, and I think it would be a whitewash to take a situation like, no pun intended, like the Dylan Roth situation, the South Carolina massacre, that I think would be a complete whitewash to chalk that up to mental illness, and maybe he did, maybe he didn't, but it was also crystal clear that it was done for nefarious reasons of evil. Coach, we're running out of time. I just want to say a real quick shout out to Pedro Martinez, Randy Johnson, Craig Biggio, and John Smoltz. First time in almost 60 years that 4 people were elected on one ballot, and 4 of the greatest players of their time. Congratulations to those guys. They're being inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame today. Perry, we got 15 seconds.
Well, I just want to say I apologize for Terrell Jackson not joining us. He did agree to do that. Those of you that joined to hear that interview, we'll try to get it in next week, maybe a little too late. But, hey, all I can do is apologize and communicate what he communicated to us. ADT, JNS, love you.
Have a good afternoon.
Hail to the king, hail to the king, and lots of love. May he protect us from the evil. Hail to the king, lots of love. May he protect us